Yeah, that's the question that we are going to answer today, which is more easier for express entry. Now let's talk about speaking test, which is called as expression orale in French. Let's start with TEF as always, TEF Canada. There are two sections, two tasks to be done, A and B. Duration of the exam in TEF Canada is 17 to 18 minutes. What happens is you enter the hall, you introduce they will make you sign some document, some pleasantries, and then you get a document, a paper, okay? Document, usually, most likely it's an advertisement. It's not a long, it's about 30-40 words maximum with plus picture. So to set the context. And you get 1 minute preparation time. 1 minute prep time. You get 1 minute to look at the advertisement, to read the advertisement, okay, to understand it. And then you start. What do? You have seen this advertisement and you're supposed to call the person who has posted the advertisement and you're supposed to ask them some questions to get more information about the advertisement. This is supposed to be a formal conversation and the examiner is going to play the role of the person who had given the ad, and this is supposed to last for 5 minutes. Formal conversation, okay, it's supposed to last 5 minutes in length, and you're supposed to ask around 10 questions about the ad. It's not hard and fast, but you have to ask around 10 questions in 5 minutes. Formal conversation. Examiner will answer your questions, so you get some clue, or you can ask counter questions and stuff like that. We have these sessions available in our programs at bbarters.com. Probably some of those videos are also available on YouTube in our playlist, but surely in our programs we deep dive into the details of what to do, what not to do, based on the experiences of our students over the years and our own experiences, because most of us have given the exam ourselves. So let's not go into details because I'm comparing the two exams right now. 5 minutes of formal conversation about advertisement. You can keep the advertisement by during the time that you're speaking. Okay, so it's not like it's just taken away from you, it's there for you. And then we talk about section B. You'll get a break of like 1 minute between the first task and second task. In section B, you are again given another document. This time it's a slightly longer document, maybe 50 to 60 words, not more than that. Maybe some picture is there. It's usually about an activity. For example, trekking in the Himalayas or volunteering for a animal shelter. You get 1 minute preparation time. You can read the document, understand it, what the activity is about, what are the benefits and everything. And then what you got to do, you got to speak with the examiner. The examiner this time is your friend. So this is an informal conversation. First, you are supposed to summarize the activity. What is it? You have to propose it to your friend. Je viens de lire cette annonce accrocheuse. I just read this exciting advertisement, and let's summarize it for the friend. What is it about? 1 or maybe 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes maximum. And then you have to propose. Qu'est-ce que tu en penses? Are you interested in doing this activity? And your friend, which is the examiner, is going to say, no, je suis pas sûr, or something like that, like they're not sure. And they'll come up with some reasons or excuses. And it is your job to convince your friend to do this activity, basically by arguing about their excuses, why it's not valid and what you could do, suggesting alternatives and stuff like that, explaining the benefits of stuff and something. So that's a convincing part. So the conversation must last for 10 minutes. It's a conversation. Here though, examiner is speaking much lesser. Is mostly maximum he or she will say 2 minutes. Most of the talking is done by you because you are the one who is convincing the person. All they have to do is come up with some excuses and say je suis pas sûr or something like that. But mostly you have to do all the talking. Okay, that's it. Pretty much that's the format of the exam. Let's talk about TCF Canada first, the format and everything, and then we'll discuss compare. So TCF Canada, you have 3 tasks. Instead of 2, you have 3 tasks. Surprisingly enough, the duration is 12 minutes and not 15 minutes. Here it was more like a 15 minutes. It's 12 minutes here, even though you have 3 tasks. First one is introduction, fairly simple. This is supposed to be for 2 minutes, where what happens is you come into the hall in front of the examiner after doing the formalities. You talk about yourself. You introduce, and tell about your name, where are you from, maybe some interesting things about yourself. Usually, people could say that, okay, I'm going to prepare an introduction of 2 minutes and I'm just going to go and reproduce the content that I had prepared at home. Not a good idea. You should prepare for maybe 1 minute, and then after you speak about yourself for 1 minute, the examiner, probably based on what you said, he will ask some questions to you, and that makes for a more natural conversation. 2 minutes. This is fairly easy part. Okay, so remember that. Let's go to the task number two. Task number two is very similar to the TEF Canada section A, where you are given an ad and you have to speak with that person to ask more information. But the difference here is that you do not get any document. The examiner will give you a situation. He will speak, he or she will speak the situation. For example, vous êtes dans un ascenseur avec votre voisin. So you are in a lift with a neighbor, with your neighbor, and you're new to Paris, like me, and you are asking your neighbor about what to do in Paris, something like that. So that's the situation that examiner will give you, and then you are supposed to have that conversation with the examiner. This is could be formal or could be informal based on the situation. You have to take that call. This has to be about 3.5 minutes. Examiner will play its part because his or her part, because it's a conversation, as I said. It's not a monologue. Conversation of 3.5 minutes, and you get about 1 minute preparation time for this. Once the examiner gives you the situation, you get 1 minute to think about what you might say, 1 or 2 minutes. If you do not understand what the examiner is saying, what the situation is, you can ask for explanation. You can say, est-ce que vous pouvez m'expliquer encore une fois? Or you rephrase stuff, okay? And they will rephrase it probably in easier terms, but usually it's not very difficult to understand. But again, don't do it twice. Don't just keep on asking them what is it, because then that shows that you don't understand what they're saying. So maybe once you can. So that's the second task. Third task, proposition given by examiner. Examiner will present you with a proposition, a statement, like for example, nobody should get pension after retirement. Okay, il faut annuler les bénéfices pour retraité. Okay, one should not get pension after retirement. That's a statement that the examiner will give you. Now you get no prep time, zero preparation time, maybe few seconds here and there. That's to catch your breath. If you do not understand the proposition by examiner, you can ask again, similar to section 2. Now you are supposed to speak for 4.5 minutes in the form of a monologue. This is not a conversation. You're supposed to speak by yourself for 4.5 minutes, talking about the statement that they mentioned, talking about your opinion. What do you think are the pros and cons of this thing, to canceling the pension for retired people? It's a monologue. Now it's possible that you only speak for 4 minutes. You speak little less, maybe half a minute less, 30 seconds less, or something like that. In that case, what the examiner will do, they will ask you counter question just to make sure that you did speak for 4.5 minutes. But it still is a monologue. That means you cannot stop after 2 minutes and say, okay, now ask me the questions. You cannot do that. That will cost you a lot of points. That's about that. That's how the structure of TCF Canada speaking test is. No preparation time for this, 1 or 2 minutes of preparation time for this, no preparation time for this, but that's fine because this is introduction, so you must have already prepared. You don't get any documents here. None of the questions are documented. Everything is explained, all the questions and situations, by the examiner. So you should be also good at listening. Okay, so there's no document for referencing. Whereas in TEF Canada, as we said, you get 2 documents, paper based, in the hall, so you can have it for reference. So having explained this too, now let's talk about conclusion. What do we think? Based on our experience, based on our discussion with students, we think that TEF Canada speaking is slightly easier than TCF Canada speaking. Slightly, not a lot. Reason being, I don't think a lot of people are comfortable for a monologue of 4.5 minutes or 4 minutes. It's a long time to just speak without preparation, that too. So that's a tough part. It's slightly easier to maintain a conversation. And at the same time, you also have the document to fall back on. So you have some reference in the form of document. Examiners and participating, so you get some help, albeit the fact that in the second part of TF you have to maintain the conversation for a longer period of time. Having said that, it's still slightly easier than having a monologue. Again, this is my opinion. Somebody might just prefer having a monologue of 4.5 minutes rather than having a conversation of 10 minutes. That's up to you. If you are really good at monologue, awesome. Maybe you can plan for it. Maybe you can prepare for it. So my job is to give you information, how it is, and maybe give you opinion, but it's up to you. If you find this one easier or this one easier, TCF or TEF. Another point is that no preparation time for monologue is a bit difficult. Another point is that examiner is explaining the situation, so you have to understand, and hopefully you don't ask for reformulation. Maybe you can ask once, but not more than that. If you ask more than once, probably that's not good for you. Whereas that's not probably the case with here. Documents are pretty easy. There are pictures on the documents, so easier to understand. TEF was the tough part. Tough part is the section B. It's a 10 minutes is a long time. An examiner is not going to speak a lot. So you have to convince them. So it's tough. It's tough to survive or sustain the conversation for 10 minutes. So that's the tough part about section B. Section A is fairly easy in TF Canada. So section B of TF Canada is tricky, but so is the third task of TCF Canada, the monologue. So that's what it is. That's the comparison of speaking. My conclusion in general is that TEF speaking is slightly easier than TCF speaking for most people. And please follow us on our social media channels in order to remain updated about our program offerings and make most of all the information that we like to share with you about French, about Canadian immigration programs, and how to best prepare for TEF and TCF Canada exams. Merci beaucoup.